So we've got a lot of content to cover. In all honesty, what I'd like to do is if you guys have questions or anything that you want to go over, if you would please write it down. And at the very end, the content I want to push through, I will do my very best to leave some time so I can review any questions or answer anything that you guys may have, just so we can control that time a little bit better. So areas that we're going to discuss, go over today to determine the sweet spot, relatively broad topic. I just kind of focused on the areas that I feel we've really made a lot of leeway on in the last 4 or 5 years, made the biggest impact to our overall operation. Company org chart, defined and regularly updated so that everyone understands their role within the business. Focused fundamentals that lead to a positive culture, structured apprentice programs and training, blueprinting with purpose, clear policy procedure and onboarding, bulletproof scheduling, defined customer avatars, customer expectations through standardization, dealing with an overall reduction in insurance field-based positions, aligned incentives, and finally, we'll finish with some Q&A. So to begin, a little background on me. My first job, I was a dishwasher at Panera Bread, and I worked my way to a regional training manager there. I was in charge of 7 stores in the North Florida market for a franchise that had just under 900 stores. I was responsible for all of the company's orientation for the entire state of Florida. So any store, any team member coming into the organization sat through a Saturday orientation with me where I defined mission, core values, anything that was important to the company. We communicated to those people, whether they were a general manager and or a baker coming into Panera. I worked a lot of hours. If I wasn't working in a store preparing for an audit, whether it be corporate or internal, I was preparing for, on my day off, I was preparing for a day on, right? It was a lot of, anybody who's worked in the restaurant industry knows how brutal it may be on the schedule. I always had a passion for cars. I grew up next to a guy that owned a car stereo shop. Learned a lot about fiberglass, custom application, that kind of thing. And in this little spare time that I did find, that's actually a picture there of my apartment porch at the time. I was making, iPads were becoming to be popular. I was making dashboards to hold iPads, and I was selling them online. And that just kind of grew into getting in, just continued passion within the automotive world and in cars themselves. Throughout this time, I got involved in an accident. The repairs were horribly incorrect. My lack of knowledge for proper repair at the time. I reached out to some friends, had a post-repair inspection done on the car, and it was so bad, the insurer had to buy it back from me, or the shop did anyway. It kind of kindled me to do all the research that I can. So I joined ATI, the Automotive Training Institute, and began to research all the books, fly all over the country studying policy verbiage, insurance logistics, litigation, everything that I possibly can. My total, shameless plug for ATI, total return on investment for the last 5 years is north of $5 million with them. Really just focused on studying the business. Last 90 days, kind of a scope, peek at our numbers, around a $6,700 average RO, just shy of $4,700 average total loss bill. Our car count is down. We've made some significant changes and expanded our blueprinting area, so we're working to standardize those departments. Total square foot today from the original 400 square foot in 2011 is now 11,500 in total space, 800 in office space, and we've got a total of 25 team members. So defined and regularly updated company org chart. Who, raise a hand, show of hands, and if you would, leave your hands up. Who in the room wears more than one hat within your business? Leave them up for me. More than 2? More than 3? 4? We still got hands in the air. Okay, cool. So a great place to start and focus. My advice would be if you don't have an org chart within the business, regardless of the level, whether it's multi-store or one single store, you need to focus on what you want it to look like. One of the key things that we did was when we mapped it out, filled your name and or administration members or team members that are doing multiple positions, and write your name within wherever you're filling those roles, and then slowly prioritize replacing your overall responsibilities within the operation. Everyone within that store needs to know who they report to, who they can speak to, where they go for the answers. And if you have that clearly defined to the team members, it's far more efficient. You've got to focus on time blocking all the members of your administration with the specific amounts of time allocated to specific tasks and roles. And we'll get into a little bit more of that here shortly. You got to push the team to their maximum potential by communicating where they were, where you need them to be, and if you think that they're on track. The key here is, regardless the level of team member within the business, they should never be wondering if they're doing enough, if they're meeting expectation. That's something that's our job as leaders to regularly communicate to them to where that's never a question in their mind. If they're behind where they need to be, that's communicated to them, positive reinforcement, but it's communicated and they understand where they're at and where they need to be to get to that next stage. Study your team's action and focus on removing any and all waste and restrictions. This is probably the biggest one for this. Your biggest loss in efficiency within your store is going to be transition time. 100%. Processes are going to help you with that, but the more positions that you're filling up here, and not only yourself, if you've got other team members that are doing more than one position, the more responsibility that you pile on them and the more that you spread them out, the less efficient they're going to be and the less impact they're going to have on positively impacting the flow and efficiency of the organization. Focus fundamentals that lead to a positive culture. So we were this year's FenderBender medium-sized shop best culture winner, and this is how we walk through that. So define your mission with great clarity and urgency. I think that this is something that's not communicated in too many stores. And in all honesty, when I talk to a lot of shop owners, they really get hung up on how to come up with one and really how to communicate it to the team. And then inevitably they just copy and paste something off of Google and it's somewhat generic and it doesn't speak to the overall mission and exactly what you're wanting to accomplish as a group, to make a difference, whether that be within the industry, within the individual customers, the team internally, whatever you're going for. And on the next slide, I'll give you an example of what ours is. Create and maintain an overall customer focus. Develop agility in our always changing world. Share everything through constant communication, structured communication, the good, the bad, the ugly. Remain truthful and direct with employees. Root for each other peer-to-peer, constant thank yous throughout the daily operation. This is not necessarily just thanking your team. This goes a long way in front office transactions and communication. So a team is trained specifically to, when they're in front of customers in the front office and they're dropping the vehicle off, or they're going through some sort of transaction within the front office. If your front office team is going, "Thank you, Susie, I appreciate that, Bobby. No problem, I'll get it right to you," whether it's over radio or within the office, if that level of communication is happening, is something as simple as just thanking each other, that's going to speak to the customer. They're going to see that. Establish clear, consistent accountability. We'll go in depth on that a little bit more as well. Embrace discretionary engagement. So this is something picked up recently from a psychologist, but the discretionary engagement, there is a level that a team member or employee is going to instinctively determine as the minimum that I need to accomplish to fulfill my role within this shop. And it's going to live somewhere here, right? And it's just above lazy, maybe not quite worthless, right? But it's just enough to get by, right? I know that sounds relatively negative, but if there's no intention being made over that, just my natural instinct and effort is going to live somewhere there. And then there's this big gap at the very top of full potential of that employee. And our job from a culture side of things is to close that gap, right? We got to be implementing training, incentive plans, whatever it may be, to be able to, whatever speaks to that particular person, considering their personality, to close that gap. Develop team members through training plans in order to perform at their maximum potential for the overall organization. So depending on the team member, whether it's administration and or technician level, they are going to have structured, scheduled time to be able to sit and go over whatever it is that we need, whether it be personal development, business, professional development, whatever it is, we're going to provide it to them, have a solid plan. Conflict resolution is probably the biggest one. So real brief to kind of give you a visual. Conflict resolution, the people within the business need to understand and have the confidence to know that they have everyone should have an interdependence toward getting themselves to better the conflict resolution within the store. People that don't like conflict, I think it's in the 70 percentile, right? If we were to envision this wall on my right as heaven on earth, total bliss, and the other wall is hell on wheels, it's absolute misery, right? From myself to bliss, the wall is a muscle, and your team members have to understand that when things begin to go south, it's okay to take the path toward where I'm at, okay? And then we're going to work on developing the muscle so that you understand that as you leave bliss and things get squirrely within your world, I want you to engage in this path. Don't freak out and run back, right? We want to grow together. Let's move forward together. I'm okay to walk. I'm okay to get close to here, but I'm going to understand and learn a skill set that can begin to get myself back towards the bliss. When I begin to pass this point and I get onto the side of getting toward the red zone, now we enter disengagement, right? This is where it's never going to change here. Things are always the same. My word doesn't matter. Nobody listens to me. But if you can really control that path and intentionally give them the resources, and I hope to give you a few tools today that can help with that. So this being our mission statement, we are here to assist the everyday consumer with the support required to navigate a complete and proper repair in today's world of collision repair. We actively support our clients through transparent exposure to the specifics of manufacturer repair methods, working to ultimately provide the customer with a vehicle of restored safety to the best of human ability while demonstrating world-class customer service. Structured apprenticeship programs and training. So I've spent a lot of time on this over the last few years. I actually just joined trying to fire back up an ICAR committee dedicated to nothing but this. But a few things that I found while doing this, I'll share with you guys. When I went into these schools and the trade programs and really dug into what was going on within them, I've noticed that there is an abundance of funding within the programs, at least in my market, an abundance. I'm talking not a mixing bank, but 4 mixing banks, right? Matco toolboxes like Candyland for a mechanic, right? Piled to the walls everywhere. For instance, this particular school, as I was going to talk to the kids, I usually buy them pizza, bring them some t-shirts. They get all excited, and we run through what they're working on. And I'm really, my efforts here is trying to update the curriculum that they're learning. I'll have 70, 80 cars on my lot, and I go into these schools, and I'm talking to the instructors, and he's got a stud gun, and they're just studding out a side of an Acura, just peppering it. And I'm trying to get them to understand and connect them to, all these cars, not one of them I'm gonna put a stud gun on. Them days are over, man. So we've got to be able to update that curriculum to be able to get it to damage analysis, blueprinting vehicles, and I'm really seeing good results from the program. The little bit of time invested, not financial investment, it's just a little time, right? As long as it's being blocked out accordingly, I can get in there, show face, and I'm working with these programs to be able to get them on. First off, that Acura that they're stud welding over and over again can only be stud welded so many times. If we're on a damage analysis side, that same Acura, we can do an assessment of damage, proper blueprinting, run them through a series of checklists, teach them how to 3-dimensionally measure a car, scan a car, whatever it may be, and then do it in reverse on the reassembly side, QC that. There's opportunities there, and then redundantly we can do that to the same vehicle and create some different sessions out of it. So it's really working. For instance, right there to my right within that room, that's a Spinisi measuring system that I personally use within our blueprinting department. Almost every vehicle is getting measured. I'm thinking the day I paid, 25, almost 30 grand for that piece of equipment. The instructor didn't even know how to turn it on. So the value there is simply calling my Spinisi rep and going, look, I need somebody here. I need somebody to get this thing logged up. If you need me to pay the subscription base or whatever it is, but this guy needs to know how to use it. And it's not physical time out of our schedule besides just connecting the dots and making sure that they're utilizing those resources that they're exposed to. So from a training side, internally, the admin team has structured training relative to whatever it is that they're working on once per week. Technicians are going to be required to quarterly advance through their ICAR. The symbolic training example, so I played a lot of sports growing up. It was just something that came to me. I was always intrigued by, if we won a state championship or whatever it was, we get a banner up in the gymnasium. As the technicians complete their pro level certifications, we print a banner out, throw their name on it, pro level, put their ICAR and platinum levels, whatever it is, and we present it to them at a production meeting. They get to hang it up in the Raptor, and it really just makes for a positive environment. They love it. It's a $30 banner and a form of symbolic training that they get to stand within their department and say, them 3 banners didn't come easy, right? When you're introducing new apprentices into the store and you're rolling them in there, it's a whole nother level of you're learning from a guy that's got 4, man. This ain't reassembly. They've only got 1 banner hanging. I got 4 of them bad boys, right? And they really speak to it. They really take pride in it. Incentive programs and developing training. Every 30 days within the shop, everyone's got access to all their training and signed through ICAR. If you've completed 8 classes within ICAR, you get the opportunity. We've got a little pretzel jar wrapped in a cash vinyl, and within there is a bunch of little gumball machine caps, and I've got everything from a Coke, $5, $10, $100, $500, $500 being the top. I've changed this. It used to be I would personally wash your car. Now I pay for a mobile detailer to come in and wash your car. But funny things like that it's a quick, at our production meeting throughout the week, we step up, everybody reaches in the jar, and they really get good feedback on it. They love it, and it pushes them to get you away from, oh shit, gold class is coming up. Let's bang out a year's worth of training in 30 days so we can qualify for whatever minimum requirements we need for our certification programs. It's progressively being done throughout the year, and they can apply it. Before moving on, this is powerful. I think that we all need to consider, when it comes to training, that we mistake ourselves for being in the car business. And I think that if we were to look at it from a perspective to say that, we are a training company, the product that we sell is labor, but ultimately we're in the people business. It's got very little to do with cars. Cars just become the widget after a point. Blueprinting. So this is our blueprinting team. We've got 3 technicians assigned to each individual writer, and then a 4th technician that works under the production manager that's doing ADOS. So he's going to work off an alignment rack, pre and post alignments, pre and post measuring, scanning the cars, ADOS research, and any ADOS that we can perform off the tooling that we have in-house. All of these guys are placed off of, everyone within the business takes a personality test, and then we correlate that to the writer and or the team lead that they're going to best respond to and or best communicate with. One of these teams is dedicated to potential totals, higher severity. So if we believe it may total, that's a technician and a writer that do nothing but those potential totals, writing those all day long. And the other 2 are going to be focused on the retail side. And we really work to be able to make sure that the writers are sitting close to these guys while they're tearing them down. They all have dedicated lifts to be able to pull all the procedures necessary to be able to determine the best effort in proper repair. One of the things I want to point out, and really this isn't about writing the biggest bill, it's focusing on the repair accuracy and the overall quality of the work to be able to drive the profits needed to expand the team. We're not trying to sell anything more than we're owed. We're not trying to overbill to paint a bumper. We're just trying to be able to go through and determine what it is specifically that's going to be done and bill for every little thing according with that, associated with that job. Big impact within our blueprinting area. These carts that are here, notice that the top bars are green. Those don't leave our blueprinting department. As the technician tears the vehicle down, everything goes onto those carts. Smashed stuff and broken stuff goes on the bottom. As they're marking it and taking photos, they're progressively doing it. And that top green bar defines that cart as a blueprinting cart. Once they get through and they believe that everything's done, the writer believes he's finished, they roll that cart over to the right in front of the writer with a fresh cart, and they systematically move every single part from the green barred cart to a fresh, clean cart. So that new cart becomes the actual cart that we're going to store the parts on, but it allows us to have one final check and balance to make sure that left bracket, I took it off the car, I set it on a table, and I missed it, the writer didn't get it. It's literal, hand for hand, right to the next cart, right? Did you get this bracket? I got an R&I. No, it's broken. Okay, let me change it to replace. Clear company policy and procedure and onboarding. Defined written orientations for all new team members. So anybody that comes into the business, we've got, as process-minded as I originally was, the room that I was sitting in with Panera, those guys, they were all so far advanced beyond myself, and I didn't realize what I was absorbing at the time. But if you come into the company, regardless of the level, you've got a full training book, and we've got these in digital format for everybody, team leads to reference as well. Update individual job descriptions as you go. They've got to stay current as the business grows and you add team members. You've got to make sure that you're staying on top of them. Opening and closing daily posted responsibilities. I'll give you an example of that here in a minute. Continued training and follow-up to ensure accountability across the board. Easily reference departmental specific in-process responsibilities. I will give you an example of that as well. Day-to-day hurdle feedback systematically recorded is key to great process development and implementation. This is probably the biggest one here. You've got to systematically record efficiently the hurdles that you're having so that the team can communicate to you exactly where you need to focus on versus just focusing where you think you need to focus. And I'll show you the resource for that here in a minute. So this is what our departments look like, just a brief example. Every department is going to have a list of the required operations that need to be performed on every single file, including all of the responsibilities that that particular department is responsible for before they leave. So they have a close out and or checkout checklist. This is going to help with onboarding, bringing on new team members as you roll Apprentice into the program. There is no lost sauce of where I need to be focusing on, what's my responsibilities here. It's a reference for them constantly. And as your administration, production leads, whoever's coming into the department, they have a reference to say, whoa, why are we here? And how did we skip step 4 and 5, right? It's on the wall, it's clear, easily referenced, just something that's really worked for us. Within the blueprinting department, we've got one that says step 1 through however many steps to perform an alignment. Step 1 through whatever to three-dimensionally measure a car. Most of the technicians that are in my blueprinting department are lower level C and D level techs, right? So we are reliant on the process, not the individual ability of that particular person to make sure that we're not missing anything or the competency of engagement of that particular employee. Speaking to that transitional waste and kind of controlling that, you've got to set these guys up for success. Anything within the shop, some people laugh and it seems like overkill, but how much time is your team looking for a jump box, right? We noticed that early on, and we put one in every single bay. As everything is compartmentalized within our shop, jump box doesn't only stand on a hook, it's next to an outlet, and it has a cord that's zip tied to the wall that can't be moved from there. So when it's hung, it's plugged in, and there's a photo next to it as to where they belong. If something is not in use, it's got a defined place. Otherwise, things just end up wherever. It's going to create a significant amount of efficiency.
The amount of time they spend going looking for that.
100%.
The jump boxes is definitely something I don't see in a lot of shops. We actually have them tagged, so like this is in the parts department. So if the jump boxes get moved, I know this isn't belonging over here.
The guys that are within that department are responsible for that jump box, and they know it'll get payroll deducted and split amongst everybody that works in that department if it's missing. They go grab it, walk out to the car, jump it, you plug it back up and keep going. Referencing for structural, when we go through beyond the procedures, we're going to attach all of the sectioning, cut points, and weld points to the side of the vehicle so that the technician, one of your highest paid employees, is not having to go dig and find it. Is it in my phone? Is it in the bag in the car? I really know where to cut this. It's already attached for him. As soon as that car pulls in, he's already got his parts and he's already got everything to be able to reference to be able to do it properly, and he knows what we're holding him accountable to. Within our paint area, so this is giving you an example, as we were tracking the numbers and going through all of the KPIs within the business, we identified that we were losing a significant amount of time and cycles within the paint area off of masking. The booth was down, not running. If your fan's not running the booth, you're not making money. And all of that downtime and masking, when we went to go invest in a new paint booth, we tore out several bathrooms, relocated some bathrooms forward, and put in this side enter booth so that everyone within the paint area and body department is racing to keep this deck full. So they will put this car in, full uniside, everything's masked out, ready to go. And now these TVs here are a live view to this department of what's going on inside the booth. So they're not only referencing everything's completely masked, they're referencing videos. Oh shit, he's unclear. As soon as that bake is done, right, the sidewall goes up, they push that car in on dollies, and they're immediately spraying the next car, and that team is racing to get the next ones on deck. It allows the administration team, when they're walking through the department, to simply go, why don't I have anything on deck? What's going on? He's almost on the last cycle. And it's a good visual, doesn't require a lot of communication, it's just automatically showing you where they're at for the day without having to engage or ask or really interrupt them. Process, procedures, and support file documentation. So you're mandating departmental digitally recorded lists. We use a series of CCC lists, and these don't allow the vehicle to advance past points without making sure that we have everything that we need to meet minimum requirements for getting paid on the file, or making sure the insurer has what they need to reimburse the customers, whatever it may be. QC, you've got full access and control, and I'll give you a screenshot of what some of those checklists look like. It's going to take into consideration our quality points, detailed in-process material tracking, so all of our material, paint, we submit a part price difference invoice off of our paint. Everything that gets mixed in our store goes across the scale, produce an invoice, submit it to the insurer for the difference, and we do the same thing for dry goods. We use the 3M key-to-key program. All of our material within the shop is locked within cabinets. We scan the material out. It automatically goes to the CCC platform, and we're getting paid for 5 PPS cups for every car, right? We're getting paid for every piece of sandpaper, every drip of seam sealer, every drip of panel bond, whatever it may be. And those systems not only support us from billing and getting those things back, it's all automated ordering. So as we have PAR set within our inventory, the inventory drops below a certain PAR, it kicks an email to the jobber, and the material that we need automatically shows up. So it's replacing people that are running around, I'm out of this material, I'm out of that material. You just update your PARs accordingly. Biggest thing here is remaining consistent, making sure that your processes are repeatable, and that your team instills the discipline to implement them every day. This would be an example of what some of the departmental checklist looks like. You have full access on the backside of CCC to be able to mandate a picture required or a signature. So a series, this checklist, in all honesty, is probably closer to 60 lines deep now. And it's just because when we identify, how do we get burned on that? How do we not get paid? Why don't I have a picture of that? We look back at the checklist and say, it's added into the checklist, and now we're gonna make sure that doesn't happen again. And it's a constant effort of looking upstream to making sure that we're developing and improving those processes. Some of these, at the very bottom of them, we've got where the production manager will validate it. So that the vehicle cannot pass and not get out of a frame or structural phase without validation by finger signature on the phone of the production manager to validate that backside refinish has been done, or NVH foam has been applied, panel bond usage, whatever it may be. Structured meeting schedule, so our internal meeting structure. Our administration meeting is going to meet every day from 7:15 to 8 a.m. That's every morning, 7:15 to 8 a.m., 45 minutes, where we run through every single car on our lot. What's the update, where we're at, What's going on with it? Does anybody have any additional news that we didn't have the day prior? Why didn't things get done? Whatever it may be. Every day we're going to meet from 1 to 1:15. The production team is going to meet outside. That's what you're seeing here. It's a short, brief 15-minute meeting. And to control this time with so many team members, we give them an agenda. These are the only things that are to be discussed in that meeting unless we're doing some sort of incentive. That board is on the wall, and what vehicles are being painted today, where are the express jobs, etc. The reason that they're worded this way, essentially this says, what's the paint department giving us today? Do we know what's leaving? What's the body department giving us today? Although it doesn't say that, because initially when we did it, if we said, body, what you giving? I'm giving the best shot, best I can, boss. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try to get in primer by the end of the day. So we changed the verbiage up a little bit and said, all right, what's getting painted tomorrow? And they're going, oh shit, what's going in the booth? And the body guy's going, I'm going to make sure it's ready for the, and it's just a little bit of change in the way that you're approaching them. It gets better dialogue, better feedback. What's our problems, delays? Where can we improve? What can we do to change the plan? All right, so this is big, we got to push, but these meetings administratively, everything is going to be time blocked. This is huge, okay? So if your people in your store are on demand, forget it. Just give up planning now. You're at the mercy of the customer and the insurance adjuster and whatever. They can't make you a promise and commitment for their day because they don't know where their day is going. They're going to show up and their phone starts ringing, they're going to start taking it and try to survive. That's what they're doing. But if you can give them the resources to allocate their time properly, then you're going to get far more accomplished. So when we first started the meetings years ago, it was a lot of this. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that. And then the next morning, we'd come and sit in the meeting, and they go, yeah, I didn't have time to do that. I had too many customer calls. Now I'm going to try to get to it again today. And here we are. Not only are we wasting 45 minutes of the day every day, but we're really not moving the needle, right? So they're going to print, they're all required to print off a daily, this is coming directly from your Outlook on your print screen, a daily list of where their space is for the day. What do they have prior commitments? And they can only fill in white space. As they take commitments, whether it be from their to-dos that are structured on here and or from the room, and they give commitments, they can only fill it in white space. Once the white space is filled, they've got to stop giving commitments. I'm maxed for the day. Is there anybody else that can fill me in? Anybody else that can help? Or I'm setting expectation that I'm not going to get to that realistically today. I'm going to get to it tomorrow. I'm going to get to it by the end of the week. And then I can go put it in my calendar. It'll show up in my tomorrow schedule, and I can allocate the time properly for that. The process that we should walk them through, especially when you have younger team leads. I've got technicians that have stepped into administration roles, and they want to be all of it. They just want to do it all. I'm trying my best. I'm exhausted. I don't really know what I accomplished today. As they're going through that, and all of these things are coming to them from different directions, if they're trying to take on all of that responsibility, walk them through the series of questions. That's a constant funnel. Can I eliminate this from my day? No. Customers calling to complain. I have to take that call. I can't eliminate that. Okay. Can I automate this customer complaint in any way? Okay. If I can't automate it, can I delegate it? Is there somebody else that can step in and help me with this? And if you give them the structure to walk them through internally these decisions, they end up prioritizing their day. You'll sit down with them and you go, okay, man, let's look at this. They're going to write a list of the 19, 20 responsibilities that they have for the day. If you just go through and say, okay, can you eliminate that? No. Can you delegate that? No. Or can you automate that? No. As you walk through that funnel, they're going to develop where their day is going to be prioritized on their own. This is how we get the appointments on the schedule. So, there's a lot of these out there. We use Calendly. Nobody is on demand. If somebody calls in the front office, these girls are pushing these appointments out. It's going to take into consideration whoever's responsible to manage that appointment. It's going to take into consideration their calendar, and they'll either book the appointment for the customer, and it gives them a live availability to determine there is nobody walking in the front door for an estimate. Somebody walks in, you're not going to pay somebody to sit there and wait on demand for somebody to walk through the front door. Somebody comes through the front door for an estimate. Oh, I'm sorry, we're appointment only. I'm happy to send you a link. I can text it to you right now. You can scan this QR code, or my first availability is X. And now that writer, right, frontline writer has a day that can systematically go, I got 6 estimates coming in today. Instead of going, I don't know if I got 20. I don't know what kind of day I'm going to have, right? As they go through and define, a customer. I finished a blueprinting car, backline estimator needs to call a customer. There's no pick up the phone, I get the voicemail, I leave a message, right? Customer doesn't listen to the message, but they wait an hour when I'm in the next car, and then they call and say, hey, Ryan, I got Susie Joe on the phone. She wants to talk to you about the last car you did 2 hours ago and wants to go. No, it's I send you a link. Your vehicle's been finished in repair planning. Please schedule a consultation, 15-minute phone call with the person who wrote it. Customer goes in, says this time works for me, works for them. They click it. You control the back end of who gets what. Customer, you want a customer to get a text 5 minutes before? Fine. You want to have an email? You want an email going to 10 people in the front office? All of that's going to be automated, right? So you couldn't eliminate it, but we found a solution to automate that and make sure that everyone's notified, they all respect the appointment, and then the writer simply goes, oh, I gotta call them back at 4 o'clock today. You can put the rules to say it can't be scheduled within the same day. It's gotta be scheduled next day. It can't be scheduled an hour before the other appointment. Whatever it is, fully customizable, and then it will break down them a log of exactly where they're going and what's happening. It all ties into their Outlook calendar, so as they're printing off those things that they're bringing to the meetings, it's going to give them a screenshot of what their day looks like. Notice that all of the meetings that we're talking about, whether it be training, production, whatever it is, are all allocated and they're on a reoccurring schedule, okay? Whatever it may be, that's all automated. I'm simply printing off it in the morning and all the team members that are coming to the meeting are there. This is huge, so high performance communication. We use a lot of brain chemistry within the business, mostly on the negotiation side, but we have this poster with our logo and stuff, and I've actually played with the words a little bit on the one that they have besides everybody's desk. And we give them the confidence to know that, you know, the right side of your brain is going to be really good at just recording information. Okay, it's not very logical, it's relatively emotional, and we don't go down the whole, you know, neocortex and limbic system and all the aspects of trying to control a negotiation. This is more just really simplified, look, you owe it to yourself when you identify a problem within your workday, you're somewhere and this is frustrating you, it's holding you back from performing at your best, then is not the problem to fix it. What we do is they end up rabbit holing 3 or 4 hours, walking around, getting somebody else's opinion, and then drawing this guy into the mud, and then saying, can you believe this? We just keep doing the same. No, I have to have a systematic confidence to know, systematic way to record it. Blueprint's a shit show. They're not communicating clearly. Whatever the circumstance is, it can be emotional. Just dump it into the list. And there's a defined place to put it within an app. This is free. We use Microsoft to do. There's a whole slew of them. And all they've got to do is just dump it there. If it ends up on the list, we will schedule a meeting from the administration side to sit down and left brain it. Left brain is going to be where we get all the people responsible for that particular area in the room, and we're going to come up with a strategy, come up with a solution. Let's update our process. Intentional time to sit down and say, this is a regular complaint. People are complaining about this, customers are complaining about this, whatever it is. So as we're going through the day, the feedback of the hurdles from the team are the best resources that we're going to use to be able to advance and continue to improve. Customer avatars. So I hear a lot of talk about, you know, not our target customer, and they're wasting so much time writing estimates up front, and it's a rust bucket, and I don't want to work on it anyway. You've got to be able to go through, which is not a lot of work. It sounds daunting, but it's probably realistically only 4 or 5 different. And I don't know how politically correct Pete, Protect My Policy, and Susie Soccer Mom is, but in all honesty, that's what I use within the store, so that's what I put up. We go through and fill these out, and we define clearly what the goals and objectives are for those particular individuals. One's going to be the third-party pay. My neighbor hit me, doesn't want to go through insurance. And you got the other one that's super focused on safety, dedicated to proper repair. You got I'm not the decision maker, I was just told to get an estimate today. Whatever those circumstances are that you have coming through the front door, the company needs to write a definitive process on how the company wants to handle those customers. So instead of just writing an estimate and everybody is a customer, now the front team, the front line is going, okay, this is a Pete Protect My Policy, okay, and his objectives are what? Okay, so he doesn't want to go through the insurance. Okay, I got to speak to that. And then we can push scripts and sales strategies around what is going to speak best to Pete, right? And the ones that are not our target customer, they identify it early. They define, okay, they're not concerned with proper repair. This car is too old, whatever it is. But within the process embeds a solution to say, here's who we think is a better fit and is going to bring more value. So it's an easy handoff to protect I'm not fixing that car, it's a rust bucket, and then bad feedback. Customers' expectations through standardization. So once we've defined whatever it is that the customer avatar is. We then have a series of documentation, depending on the circumstance, that we will provide to the customers. So, we don't write estimates at the front door, right? So if you come in for an estimate appointment, you're not going to leave with an estimate. We're going to look at it and go, oh, with your specific circumstances, this vehicle is going to need to be three-dimensionally measured. With your specific circumstances, we can't, you've got, somebody else wrote you an estimate on this? No, that's going to be, I'm sorry to tell you, there's nobody that can write an estimate on this car and write you one that's accurate. So, we think that you should do a damage assessment where you drop the vehicle off and we perform a measure. And then we define to them what that looks like, why it's in their best interest. And we also explain to them that, if you don't plan on fixing the car, it's probably not a good idea. Because if we write you the estimate, we take the car apart, at minimum, it's going to be $900 to get it back from us. And we're going to get back to you in pieces. You want us to put it back together, it's going to be even more money. So immediately front line, you're defining whether they're about it or not. If they're not interested, whoa, I'm not trying to $900. Well, you want to fix it, right? I mean, this is 21, this is 22. You want it fixed correctly? I mean, if you want me to tell you it's going to be 500 now, I can tell you it's going to be about 500, and then I can bring it in the back and raise it to 6 if that's what you're after. And if you can bring it to them from a logical perspective, all within the script, speaking to the avatar, more importantly, this documentation all goes in a glossy folder, so it's a take-home for if it's not the decision maker. So you come in, Dad told the daughter to go get an estimate, she goes home, Dad, I didn't get an estimate, but he gave me a bunch of this. Dad kicks through this information and goes, call him back, schedule an appointment. Overall field reduction in insurance field-based positions. I'm going to bump through this. So, we're all experiencing this. They're overwhelmed. The adjusters are overwhelmed. Most of them are trying to do their best. They're not my friends either, but we just try to cordially work with them. The biggest thing as we go through these file examples I'm going to show you is that everything's time-stamped and dated, automatically, okay? Internal notifications and efficient file transfers. The faster that your team can access information while they're on the phone negotiating or trying to get to a customer, the more efficient and the more bottom lines you're going to get paid. If they've got to go search in or they got to say, give me a second, I got to go find that, I got to go get it, let me go check with Susie, it's not happening. But if I can go 2 clicks, 3 clicks, it's right here, it's already in your email, ma'am, I've already sent a text to you, you already have an appointment for that. The faster that you can give them access to it and everyone's working in unison, better off you'll be long term. File sharing example. So this would be, we have 2 files that we share with the team, external and shared. Shared file is going to have all of our internal policy procedure for the entire team within their department to be able to access. External file is going to have a list of every insurance company we deal with and the RO associated with it. If you were to search an RO and pull it up, everything within that file is going to be housed within that saved external that everyone's got access to. Off of all of the photos, pictures, procedures, whatever it is, it's going to create a shareable file link. That shareable file link we then populate into an email and we send that to the customer. We do not have to continually send them photos. As soon as they have this link, anything that goes into that file automatically is going to be updated on this link. So I send a customer a link on day 1 and it could be there for 40 days. Every photo that we take on day 38, 39, that link that customer is going to is automatically going to take all that in consideration. The further that you can connect a customer with all of the photos associated with a repair, pre-washing a vehicle, when the insurer says, I'm not paying to pre-wash it, ma'am, I'm not sure, but can you reference photos, 6 and 7 where we've got bubbly soap all over your car? Why we wouldn't be why they're not wanting to reimburse you for that, I don't know, but we did our due diligence and provided you documentation. Mind you, all of these things are labeled, not manually. This is all automatically done through the checklist. The checklist automatically labels it. Take a picture of the pre-wash, bloop, it's automatically there. Our photos, our files are going to be somewhere between 200 and 300 pictures. So a customer can go through when we're negotiating a file. The further that the customer can connect themselves with the flow of this process, the higher you're going to be able to get paid. And or they're more confident they're going to be paying out of pocket. Aligned incentives. So we track our incentives. And this is another hurdle for a lot of shop owners when I talk to them is that how do I develop a structured incentive program? This is the program that we use for each individual positions. All of those percentages are paid off of gross profit. So as everyone's pulling in the same direction, driving those numbers up, we regularly discuss these numbers up on the board. This is back in 21, but we're going through and saying, look, it's red. Why is it red? It needs to be a focus this week. Let's regain our focus and get it on there. It continues, and the bonus plan will actually double if they can maintain our target gross sales per week on only production cars. So if I remove total losses and we consider total losses as all gravy, and you give us 70,000 a week in production, then we'll bump it from 0.2% to 0.4%, right? So a portion of their bonuses will double. Warranty policy, there's a penalty, right? So if they can't maintain their warranties under a certain threshold or percentage, that's going to be 2% of gross sales. If it goes over that, then naturally it begins to impede on your bonus. And then we break down how we pay our technicians. In a 40-hour work week, they're responsible to give us 60 hours worth of work, and it will increase, so on.
I got a question. Are you hourly?
I am hourly, yes. So watching these numbers, and we're finishing up here, watching these numbers so closely, it really allows you to keep the pulse on the business and use those numbers as the tools that you need to be able to make necessary decisions to continue to keep the pedal on the floor. Starting off the first quarter of the year, we were $22,000 over our net profit goal. We raised that target by $4,100. We blew that target by $60,000 more. So I raised it again by another $48,000, and we've just blew that target by additional $42,000. And with the changes that we've recently made, I've hired a director of repair planning to manage all of the blueprint technicians. A 10-year level CAT team writer for Allstate is now in-house with me, so I'm raising the target again by almost $60,000.